I was 23 years old, female, and a student at the time. I was living alone in a small apartment complex not too far away from school. I've never liked living alone. I was afraid of the dark. However, I always felt safe in my little apartment. It only had one way to get in, and you needed to unlock two doors to get inside. The main front door to the building, and the door to my apartment. I also used to have a few lights on even at night. I usually left my laptop on, playing some movie until I fell asleep. I always locked my door, but this time it was an exception. One weekend I was out drinking with my friends, and when I was going back home I ended up sharing a taxi with some random guy that was going to the same area as me. We both jumped out of the taxi outside my place, and we talked for a little while. He was about the same age as me, and he said he was also a student. He walked me to my front door, and we said goodnight, and I went inside. Some weeks, maybe a month later, I decided to stay home that weekend. I was just catching up on some series in bed until I fell asleep. Suddenly I woke up to a voice. I couldn't really hear what the voice was saying, but I could hear there was a man talking. I opened my eyes. The room was dark, but I could see a shadow standing in my doorway to my bedroom. I froze. My adrenaline started pumping. I couldn't scream, I just kept staring at the figure. I thought I must be dreaming. This had to be a nightmare, but I understood quickly that my biggest fear had come true. He stopped talking, and I asked quietly, "Who are you?" He took a step closer and whispered, "You don't remember me?" He was clearly drunk, but I suddenly could see that it was the same guy that I shared the taxi with some weeks ago. I felt some weird feeling of relief that I recognized him, but at the same time I was horrified. My thoughts started spinning. What did he want? Why was he here? I didn't know what to do. There was no place to hide or run to. My first thought was to try and stay calm, so I asked quietly what he was doing here. "I was thinking of you," he said and continued. "I turned off your lights and closed your laptop." He smiled. I kept looking at him. I was still in my bed. I still didn't know what to do. I felt sick and thought of him walking around my apartment while I was sleeping, but decided that I would continue to stay calm. I asked him how he got in the building. He said that he had been ringing my doorbell, but I didn't open, so he tried my neighbor's doorbell and someone opened up for him. He also went into my neighbor's apartment, but he realized it wasn't mine. He then saw the name on my door and went in. I think he could see the fear in my eyes. He suddenly turned around and said, "I think I should go." He stumbled out and I went after him. Right before he left, he said, "You should really lock your door." I shut the door in his face and locked it. I went back to bed and cried. I didn't sleep for the rest of the night. I never called the police, but I told my friends the next day. The following month, someone would ring my doorbell every now and then at the middle of the night. I would get an anxiety attack every time. I never opened up, but I had the feeling it could be him. I never saw that guy again. I'm so relieved nothing happened that night. From this day, I always double-check that I have my door locked. I also have removed the name from my door. So to this guy, let's not meet again. All this was very quick, and I still have no idea why it happened. Anyway, my name is Matthew, and I'm 16 years old, and I live in Italy. My house is in a little village in the mountains near Mont Blanc, the biggest mountain in Europe. Safe to say there isn't much vehicle activity around here. It's a very calm and cool place at the end of the day. The event took place last April. I just got out of school after a 2-hour-long Latin test, and I was basically already sleeping at this point. I unlocked my bike, waved at my friends, and left, taking the main road that led to the village I live in. As always, there were no cars, no people, no nothing. I was tired, and while riding, I was thinking about the usual things a 15-year-old thinks when coming back from school. Should I do homework first, or video games kind of stuff? I was probably overthinking, and kept going along the road without realizing I didn't take the right turn. I noticed my mistake a few minutes later and thought, never mind, I'll just take the long way. Because at the end of the road, you could take the path that led to the village. I didn't know that yet, but that was probably the worst mistake I've made in my entire life. I kept going, and at the point where the road went through a little forest, all the trees above me were stopping the light, so it was basically night. I ended up turning on my bike's flashlight, and I moved to the right side of the road. Everything was quiet until I heard the sounds of a car coming towards me. I was a bit surprised because, as I said, there's basically no vehicle activity in the area. I did not panic. After all, it was just a car passing by. After a while, I saw headlights approaching me from the road. The car was still pretty far away and going at a slow pace, like if the driver was looking for something. Then the car sped up, to my surprise, and turned right in front of me. Confused and not wanting to get hit by the vehicle, I turned left to bring the bike to the other side of the road. The The car did the same and sped up even more. I had very little time to realize what was happening because the car was coming at me at full speed and I was about to get hit. So I did the first thing that came to mind and jumped off the bike and slid down the road. I did that just in time because the car ran over the empty bike a few seconds later. I sat on the asphalt, my knees and elbows burning from the fall, trying to realize just what had happened. When I saw the driver get out of the vehicle, he started running towards me, not saying a word. I got up as fast as I could, but the guy managed to grab my left arm. I screamed and turned around and landed the strongest punch I could muster on the guy. He barely flinched, but he let go of my arm and touched his now bleeding nose. He smiled at me before running back to his car and starting the engine again to leave. I was in complete shock. I grabbed what was left of my bike and ran home as fast as I could. I was so scared that I left my backpack in the middle of the road and went to get it the next day. That's it. I never knew who this guy was, why he tried to run me over with his car. This is my biggest and only trauma that I've experienced in my life. I can tell you I will never take that road again. I apologize in advance since I'm not a good writer, but I'll do my best to share my experience. To better paint a picture, here's a description of myself at the time of this incident, 3 years ago. 5'5", 26-year-old woman, medium-length bleach blonde hair, curvy, at 175 pounds, wearing black high-waisted tights and a pink crop top. 3 years ago, I was walking home late at night from my friend's house. It was dark at the time. I lived in a rough part of the city. I've had many sketchy situations that I've gotten myself out of. I guess I felt sort of invincible, like nothing truly scary could happen to me. When I walk alone, I always stay very alert and aware of my surroundings for my own safety just in case. About halfway home, and roughly 10 minutes to my apartment, I noticed a van started to tail me. I was used to this since my city is very common for a young woman in a rough area to get propositioned for sex. It's embarrassing how desensitized I was to this. I did my usual cross the road so that I would be walking beside the traffic heading the other direction. I wasn't scared, just annoyed. The van then turned down the side street and then back onto the road that I was on and pulled up to me. At this point, I still wasn't scared. Again, this has happened to me so many times that it never mattered if I was wearing something that showed skin or if I was wearing a winter coat zipped up from below my chin all the way down to my ankles. This area is so notorious for that type of activity. I decided to be firm and told the person sternly I am not interested. I noticed there were 2 men in the van that look almost identical and may have been twins or brothers. Both men had a very dark complexion, dark eyes, and short hair. The van didn't move. I was super annoyed and crossed the road again to get away. At this point, I figured this would be enough for them to stop following me. They didn't. They kept circling back every time I crossed the road. I've never had to put that much effort into getting a horny pervert to leave me alone, but this is when I started feeling unsafe. They zipped by me at the speed of traffic was flowing in, and I yelled at them to fuck off. I thought it finally worked. It had been 3 minutes and I hadn't seen the van yet, so I thought I was in the clear. Just in case, I pulled my phone out and was getting ready to call my sister that I lived with. Just then, the van pulled up to me very quickly before I could even blink, and the men jumped out of the van, opened the back door, and approached me quickly and aggressively, as if they were about to scoop me up and throw me into the vehicle. The traffic in that area is inconsistent. It was dead, and I imagine that's what they were waiting for. Just as the man was about to place his hands on me, I tilted the phone and said, "You're being filmed on my live video chat." I gave my friends your license plate number, and the police have been notified. I was so scared, but I didn't let that show. I stayed as calm as I could. The man paused like he was considering if I was bluffing or telling the truth, so I tilted the phone more as if to give him a fake audience a better look. He then jumped into the van and sped off. I've never been the same since that night. I'm afraid of walking alone now even during the daytime. Stay safe out there. These videos are intended to bring about awareness to the dark side of the world we live in. As a reality of life, violent crimes happen every day in our neighborhoods. Keep your loved ones safe. And remember to say I love you. If you liked the video, remember to like and subscribe. And remember,